Hello, athletes. Welcome and thank you for tuning into the Coach Katie Danger podcast, recorded live from Omaha, Nebraska. I'm your host, Coach Katie Danger, U.S. Army veteran, fitness coach, and founder of Red H Nutrition. Here's a fact for you. 99% of us are not elite athletes. We're individuals from all backgrounds, juggling life's priorities, including jobs, our families, their needs, and trying to find time to take care of ourselves. Every single week when you tune in, I'll be discussing clear, concise, and actionable strategies you can use to get the most from your fitness, nutrition, and mindset so you can optimize your life without compromising your time. So athletes, settle in and get comfortable. I'm here to educate, inspire, empower, and entertain you to help you enjoy the unique fitness journey that you are on. Hey athletes, what is up? Welcome to episode number 58. And if you were expecting to hear about Perspire Sauna Studio, because last week at the end of the episode, I talked about how I was going to be having guests this week. We had to reschedule. So tune in next week. I'm going to be at Perspire Sauna Studio, and we're going to be talking all about infrared sauna and heat therapy and what it does for your fitness. But I have a really, really great episode in store for you today. Just get it off my chest. I think Big Pharma is bogus. I do not trust big pharma companies, and I don't believe that they have our best interests in mind when it comes to new medications. One of the big reasons that I started Red H Nutrition, and I went down the rabbit hole of supplements. Now, y'all know that I've been using supplements for a really, really long time, but obviously I've put a lot of time and effort, a lot of life savings behind supplementation, so I believe that they work. I know that they work. They've worked for me. They've worked for thousands of other athletes who have taken my advice, who've used supplements in general or Red H Nutrition supplements. And I believe that if you know what you're looking for and you know how to gauge quality, you're going to find amazing supplements that are going to help you with many things. Whether you're sick, whether you have joint pain, you have a vitamin deficiency, or you just want to optimize your nutrition and bridge those gaps, supplements are the real deal. But I get a lot of pushback. I get a lot of, well, they aren't safe for you, or supplements don't have a lot of research behind them. And the people that say this, it's really interesting because they often have no problem with popping their Xanax, their Prozac, their depression medication, Cymbalta, or whatever other popular big pharma drug is on the market today. They got no problem doing that, but they will come at me real quick with supplements aren't safe and they aren't well studied. So this episode is all about the counter arguments to those arguments that I'm presented with. And now, I'm sure if you've watched a lick of television in the past 5 years, it just seems like they're getting more and more out there. But I'm sure you've seen your fair share of commercials about prescription medication. They have all these happy people jumping, running around, they're enjoying their lives and their families, and it's seemingly they're enjoying their life because they're on a new prescription medication, right? But if you listen to the narrative, if you don't just watch what's on the screen, but if you actually listen to what the narrator, the voiceover is saying, you're going to hear things like, this particular medication has been known to cause kidney failure, lung damage, heart problems, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You might die. So what I don't understand is, this is what I don't understand. If you have an argument of, I don't use supplements because they're not safe, or I don't use supplements, well, let's just start with the safety one. So you don't use supplements because they're not safe. Are you saying you'd rather risk any of those life-changing conditions from the prescription medication instead of trying a natural herbal remedy for your condition? Look, I know that some medications, they got to be necessary, but personally, I have not found one yet that I cannot live without. Prescriptions are just Band-Aids, and they make you think that you're solving a problem, but really all you've done is just patched up the dam. You just put a little duct tape over that little leak, and you're like, oh, it should be good for now, right? Instead, maybe consider lifestyle changes like food, water, sleep, finding ways to lower your stress. All of those things are natural things you can do to, one, either mitigate current conditions or prevent future conditions. After all, diabetes type 2, which is one of the most heavily medicated conditions in America, it's a disease of a bad lifestyle. It's not a sickness that you wake up with one day. It's because a lifestyle of piss poor decisions, bad choices, not just one, but many, many, many over a lifetime. So we're in this safety topic. We're in this safety realm right now. Let's just keep talking about it, shall we? I'll have some more numbers for you. So I pulled up some numbers from the National Poison Control Center in their annual report and their 2019 statistics. So it's kind of interesting. The 2020 report is actually from 2019, so it's almost like their whole calendar year behind. But I assure you, these numbers are probably not going to change much for the better. Probably not at all. Did you know, though, in 2019, over 128,000 people died from complications from prescription medication. 120,000 people. Do you know how many died in 2019 from herbal and dietary supplement complications? 3. 128,000 versus 3. So you tell me which one is more safe. This is according to a government agency, the National Poison Control Center. You can go look up all these numbers yourself. With that in mind, though, with that statistic, I guess you tell me which one is safer. You want to risk prescription medication, or do you want to maybe switch your lifestyle up and mitigate and resolve some of these things naturally using herbal remedies? I know which number I'm going to take, and which I have been taking. So those statistics, these are facts. They are facts that tell us that prescription medications are more likely to kill you than dietary supplements. And an interesting note, too, is that the number of prescription deaths has increased every year since 2016, but the deaths from dietary supplements has stayed within about plus or minus 2. So, in 2016, you can make the assumption, I didn't pull up the numbers from 2016 specifically, but I looked at the trends that they gave in the 2019 report. It's about plus or minus 2. So it's increasing every single year, but herbal remedies, it's about staying the same, 2, 3, 4. So there you go. Once again, are supplements safe for you? Well, if we're comparing them to prescription medications, which people will pop those pills like they're going out of style, do the math. Look at the data. Look at the statistics from our government agencies. I think what we're seeing here is that dietary supplements are far more safe than the prescription medications that are being peddled to us. So the next argument, we just got the supplements aren't safe argument out of the way. Now let's talk about they're not studied enough and don't have enough research behind them argument. And this one's going to take me a little bit longer, and I might get a little bit more fired up, but hey, it's all about entertainment for you, right? So here we go. Do you have a problem with drug prices? Do you think that paying hundreds of dollars for life-saving medication is in the best interest of the patient? Well, a lot of the research those drugs is because a lot of the research done on those drugs, and the reason these things are so expensive is because of these ridiculous double-blind placebo-controlled studies that big pharma companies do. So they have this research to support their claims when they're peddling these meds to doctors for a kickback. Yes, doctors are getting kickbacks for prescribing certain pain medications, not just pain medications, like any kind of medication. So the next time your doctor decides to prescribe you a medication, maybe you should ask them how much they're receiving kickback from this particular medication. Do you think that they're doing it for your best interest, or do you think they're doing it for your wallet? Now, these studies, they're incredibly expensive. They take years to do. Years, you guys, years. And that is not cheap. Now, not only that, but they're essentially worthless. And let me tell you why. These studies, they're funded by big pharma. The doctors that are involved are paid by big pharma. The researchers involved in the research are paid by big pharma. And I don't mean to call anyone names, but the only dopes in this whole show are the poor patients who get nothing but the hopes and prayers for their involvement. They're hoping and they're praying that this medication works. And, sometimes the placebo effect works in very interesting ways too, right? A sugar pill and something like Xanax, maybe they're actually the same thing. If we're told it's going to work, maybe it just works because we're told it does. And more of something working has to do with belief than actually does with the mechanism of its actual ability to do what it says it does. Before I started diving deep into what it actually meant for prescription drug to go from concept to research to trial and then the shelf, it was in 2013, and I heard about the CrossFit versus the NSCA. And the NSCA is the National Strength and Conditioning Association. So what the NSCA did is they put out a research paper. I think it was a 10-month long study, 10 weeks. I think the number's 10 weeks, 10 months, but whatever it was. The NSCA concluded and reported and then attacked CrossFit with that the NSCA's strength and conditioning principles did not injure people. However, CrossFit methodology injured people more. Now, the reason that this is important to know about is because the NSCA made it up. They made all this up. None of it was true at all. The participants, if you look about this stuff online, the athletes who took place in this, they were from CrossFit boxes, so actually CrossFit athletes, and they reported back, and apparently none of this information was actually used. In fact, when the study came out and these athletes who were involved read that CrossFit led to more injuries than traditional strength and training background, like the NSCA pedals, they had no idea what this report was even talking about because they didn't remember, nobody got injured that we remember. So here's what happened. The NSCA, they forged documents. They lied about the entire study because they wanted to prove that CrossFit was unsafe compared to traditional training methods. You know why they decided to do this? They did this because of money. Because CrossFit was taking money out of the pocket of the NSCA from training certifications to gyms the whole gamut. It was taking money away from them. So they're like, we got to get CrossFit back. And at the time, and maybe still, I'm not quite sure, but the NSCA was a large nationwide organization, far larger in 2013 than CrossFit was. The great thing about this is CrossFit didn't take it. Greg Glassman said, you know what? No, we are going to take this to court. We're going to put our money behind this because we believe that this is shady. And, Greg Glassman's been doing his CrossFit methodology since the 70s in Santa Cruz, California. So he knew in his heart of heart, in his gut, that this was wrong and it wasn't good. So the NSCA made all this shit up. They manipulated the data to make CrossFit look bad so they could look good. And when this news broke, I was shocked. I was like, how could this even happen? Like, how could an entire study be bogus from the top to the bottom? I just told you, it's because of money. You guys, I have 2 master's degrees, okay? I have one in public administration, which is essentially worthless at this point in my life, but then I have one in exercise science, which is what I use to at least back up the fact that I have done hundreds of research papers in exercise and, of course, in the public administration realm, but I've done lots of research papers. I've used research, peer-reviewed research, to base conclusions and to make recommendations in some of these academic papers I've written. And when I found out the NSCA made this stuff up, I'm like, wow, I wonder how many of these research papers that I've used in my studies were actually bogus as well, and were all based off of money. So to me, research in the scientific sense when it comes to big pharma, it's just an echo chamber. They'll find what they want to find. They'll find the results they want to find because they'll have the money to create the data, to recruit the researchers, and to pay them off to support their claims. I'm telling you, if the NSCA was able to do this, why wouldn't big pharma do this? Absolutely they would, right? And now with their ability to do such things and manipulate data, they're able to share this information to the masses because they've also bought and paid the doctors who tell us what to take. So the next time you want to know what research is behind your supplements, ask yourself if you're really willing to get people like big pharma or big researchers involved, because really all you're going to be doing is lining their pockets. Not only will the price of your favorite vitamin or supplement go through the roof, but any quality standards that might have been there to begin with, they're gone. They're gone because it's all just about profit. And margin is the name of the game here. If big pharma is in the business of anything, it's keeping people alive just long enough to keep charging them bogus prices for their bogus medication. And you guys athletes, I know you might not like what I'm saying, and I get it, but I want you to educate yourself. You don't have to take my word for it. I do want you to heed my advice, but read a book. If you want to see how the general public is getting bamboozled by big pharma, read a book. And the one book I'm going to suggest to you is The Truth About Drug Companies. But warning though, once you read it, you can't unread it. This information, you can't unlearn it, and it's going to change your entire perspective about the supplement industry and big pharma. Hey, I know, and you know, that I talk a lot about using supplements on your fitness journey and reaching your full potential. How I believe they're integral pieces of the puzzle to reaching your best self and best fitness results. But do you know how supplements fit into your plan? Do you know what to take for your goals and how much of a supplement you should take? If you've ever had any of those questions and you want to know how supplements can work for you and your goals, go to yourfitnesssupplements.com and take the free 3-point personalized supplement assessment. And with just a few questions, you'll have a complete personalized supplement recommendation in less than 60 seconds. You'll know more about how supplements fit into your fitness goals, what's safe, and what's effective and perfect for you. So type in yourfitnesssupplements.com in your internet browser, take the free assessment, and get on the fast track to your best fitness results. While I was researching this episode, I found out that Big Pharma also has their hands in our big supplement brands too. And this was really disheartening because I did not know this. I did not know the extent of this until I started researching this. So here's what we got going on here. So here's what we got. Of the 100 most popular supplement brands out there, 14 big pharma companies own them. 14. And some even own competing brands. So like they have a brand that competes against the other brand. Now you guys have heard of Centrum before, right? Very popular vitamin you can find on any shelf. Guess who owns it? Pfizer. How about the One-A-Day brand? You know, One-A-Day multivitamin. You see commercials for that all the time. Bayer. Bayer owns One-A-Day. And then Emergency, Nature Made. You've heard of those before too, right? Pfizer. So Pfizer owns Centrum, Emergency, and Nature Made. They own 3. Now, the list is pretty extensive, and I didn't want to go off on all of them because there's some big pharma brands that I'm not necessarily familiar with, but it's just ridiculous. Oh, how about this one? This is a good one too. Clorox. Clorox brand, the people who make the freaking bleach, they own the Renew Life brand. Clorox makes vitamins. That just blows my mind. So here's another one. Surely you've heard of the Vega brand of vegan proteins. They were one of the first vegan protein brands on the market. They're sold proudly by Costco and other big box retailers. I'm pretty sure I see them in every health and supplement store, Whole Foods. They're owned by a company called White Wave, who is owned by Danone in Paris. They're from Paris, making products in America, and Danone is a pharmaceutical brand, a multinational food and pharmaceutical brand, as if that should even go together, in Paris. So you really think that they have their quality control in check? You really think they care about quality? I don't think so. Now, I don't really know what else I can say on the subject. I have been very passionate about this subject for quite a while, but trying to keep my thoughts in a succinct manner that get the point across, it's really hard to do in a tactful manner because this just sucks. Like, we're getting manipulated by a system who's just shoving money around to get people to shut up and sell pills. We make this terrible assumption that because a doctor said so, he or she must know what's best for us. And I don't agree with that either. And that's probably very controversial to say, but I absolutely would never take advice from my general practitioner on nutrition, ever. Not ever, never, never. Do you know how much education a doctor gets on nutrition in their 4 years of basic med school? 19.6 hours. And do you know how many credit hours of curriculum there are on average in a 4-year medical school? 195. If you do the math, that's less than 10%. Less than 10% spent on nutrition. These are doctors, and it's just out of control. It doesn't even make any sense to me. So they don't know their stuff about nutrition, and they don't know the finer points of supplements and vitamins. And, I know this information is controversial, sharing this with you. And sure, it's self-serving a little bit too. And while it may be self-serving, I don't think you should go to your medical doctor for nutrition advice. I think it's smart to let them know what over-the-counter supplements you might be taking. Like if you're going to get a new prescription assigned to you, let them know what you're taking over the counter. But as far as their ability to give you advice, go to somebody else for your nutrition advice, okay? They just simply don't have the education. I want to hit on one more point here. You might also think that supplements are not regulated by the FDA, but that is completely false. The FDA, the Food and Drug Administration, they actually do regulate dietary supplements, and they regulate them as food. So what that means is they have to follow the same standards the food on your plate has to follow. So you get a bag of potato chips. I don't know why that came to my head first, but you get a bag of potato chips. That's regulated by the FDA, but under the food, right? So it has to follow the labeling standards and manufacturing practices, has to be safe for consumption, has to be made for human consumption. But when it comes to supplements, in 1994, the FDA passed the DSHEA, the Dietary Supplement Health and Education Act, and it put many standards in place for the sourcing, manufacturing, labeling, and sale of dietary supplements. So if you want to know more about this, I'm not going to elaborate on it because I've already done that. Go to episode number 5. And I specifically talk about supplement safety, how you can read labels and choose the best supplements out there. So that's episode number 5 if you want more info on that. But more than likely, anything you find on the shelf at Walmart, Costco, Target, any other big box retailer, it's going to be owned by Big Pharma. And here's the thing, you just really can't get into those stores without the money to do so, because you have to produce on such a large, massive scale. The money you have to create those quantities, small local brands like Red H Nutrition, that's just not something we can do. But I don't know if it's ever something I want to do. Here's some things you can do about this. So I give you all this information. I've essentially told you that doctors don't know their nutrition advice. I told you that Big Pharma probably is manipulating research numbers to make their drugs and products look good for you, and that supplements are safe. So what can you do about all this? First and foremost, you can shop small business and local, like for real. This is going to be a shameless plug for Red H Nutrition. But here's the deal. I know everything that goes into every single product. I have formulated every single product for a specific result. I have hands-on access. I am on the phone with the manufacturer, with my sales rep, almost weekly to ensure the quality is maintained, to make sure that every single step of this process, from the sourcing from the formulation to the sourcing, to the production, to the third-party testing, to the labeling, I am hands-on with everything. Everything that you see here in a Red H Nutrition supplement, I know from front to back. You cannot say that about the Pfizer-owned brands of Centrum and One A Day or Emergency, can you? Guarantee you can't. So stick to shopping small business and shopping local. Small batches are what these local brands, these smaller brands are good at. And when you produce small batches, quality control is very, very important because you can see everything coming off of the assembly line. You know, you see it, you can observe it. Instead of like batches of 1 million bottles, we got batches of 1,000. It is a lot easier to control 1,000 bottles than it is 1 million bottles. I know you're probably going to pay a little bit more with a small or a local brand, but at the end of the day, do you want something that works, or do you just want to pay yourself lip service? Like, you have a choice there. You get what you pay for. So that's one thing you can do. Another thing you can do is get your nutrition advice from people who actually have like legit education on it. I've got an exercise science degree. I've got precision nutrition certification. I've put my money where my mouth is, essentially. And although I respect a doctor and the education they go through, I respect that education that they go through. They do not go through enough nutrition courses to really know how to advise somebody on the best steps for their fitness and wellness journey. So get your nutrition advice from actual practitioners who have actual experience in the field, okay? Number 3, learn more about supplements and what they can do for you. Listen to my podcast episode number 3. In today's world, you simply can't get everything you need from food. So that's what my episode number 3 covers, a very, very foundational episode. And if you want to know everything they can do for you, how they can really bridge the gaps in your diet and nutrition, even if you're eating raw, whole food, vegan, whatever you think is healthy, just still check out episode number 3 because there are some very, very fine points of wisdom in there that you can't afford to miss. And then the last thing you can do is you can read the book I told you about, The Truth About Drug Companies. The only caveat is once you read it, you can't unread it, and it will probably forever change your perspective on prescription medication. And if you couldn't tell by now, athletes, I'm not a big fan of Big Pharma. It's one of the reasons I started Red H Nutrition. I have devoted my life to learning more about holistic and natural medicine. I don't think that humans should be subject to prescription-only solutions. There's so much more out there. The world is so vast, and these Band-Aids that they're just handing out like candy, they're not working for people. They're not the solution. The problem is they're just so easy. These big pharma companies, they push out this research, and the word research becomes like a renowned word, and it becomes an esteemed word. And when you use the word research, it's like if you don't have research to support your supplements, well, you may as well just get out because you can't play. But that's not the case. You got to find out where that research comes from. And also, it's very, very expensive. So if you're one of those people who thinks that you need to have research, double-blind, placebo-controlled studies for everything that you do, expect to pay a premium for everything that you do. And at the same time, you don't even actually know if it's being bought and paid for research, right? So to be truly well, here for the long term, here for the journey, I don't think that Big Pharma has a place, at least not in my life. I know that there's people out there listening right now who are on prescription medications, and this might kind of be nails on a chalkboard. It might be like putting my finger in a wound and twisting. But what I want to tell you is I will always use every ounce of my power to find a solution that eliminates the need for Big Pharma in my life. Even if I need a medicine done someday, even if I need a surgery, I need a painkiller, I will do my due diligence and I will find a way to not be reliant on Big Pharma anymore in my life. That's a promise I've made for myself. And I guess I'll ask you the same thing. Will you make that promise to yourself as well? Athletes, thank you so much for joining me for episode number 58. This is a very, very passionate topic for me. And I want you to send me your thoughts. You got to email me, katie@coachkatiedanger.com. Let me know what you think. Send me your questions. I want to know your thoughts on this because I'm sure it's a controversial topic. And for some of you, this might be the first you've ever heard of it. So I'll be waiting for those emails. And as always, I am here for you, okay? In the meantime, never quit on yourself. Believe in yourself. Trust the process. This is Coach Katie D, episode number 58. Over and out.
This is thepodcastfactory.com.